Button push.
Button is pushed. We're live.
Yep.
Oh man.
And I just got the notification.
So okay, now this is an experiment. Let me see how long it takes for me to get the notification. So I'm going to be sitting over here on the YouTube's thing right now, and we're looking at the screen here. We're checking out the chat. We got Frankie CNC and Woodworking. We got Steve from Harneal Media sitting over there, and it looks like we're the only ones so far, but that's fine.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here burning time, and we have 5 watching now. That's cool. And it's been at least a minute we've been live, and I still have no notification.
We've been live 46 seconds.
46 seconds, and I still have no notification. Katie Dotson's here. Long time no see, Miss Katie. We missed you. And Billy Burt's out there also. What's going on, y'all? What is a Podcastica? Podcastica is this world of podcasts where we live.
Or it's like saying Fantastica.
It's all between your ears. It's for emphasis. It's an imaginary world where people only communicate in podcasts. You cannot have direct conversation.
Because you know what I think, man? You know, because I'm the one, obviously, Steve knows already, probably without even knowing, but knows. I'm the one that wrote that title because I set up the thing. See, I'm thinking to myself, you know, all these stringent sort of rules that we, and quite useful and necessary, I might add. But, you know, there's such a sort of like serious following the road, and then, you know, you got to turn, so you're going to use the blinkers and, you know, life like. And I'm thinking, you know, even though they were a distraction back in the early 1900s, the people that were all into the abstract, although I don't care much for that per se as far as art, yeah. They were people that mixed it up enough so that it sort of joggled people to think in different ways and all that. So what I'm saying is it's okay to be kooky.
Well, I've always thought that, because I have yet to find any shred of evidence that life on the planet Earth should be taken seriously. You know, and I figure I have 2 options. I can either laugh or cry, and I just don't have the tears to spare. So, you know, I try to have fun. And, you know, if it's okay to be kooky, then I'm all set. Like, for instance, Katie Dotson commented a minute ago, "You missed me? I can fix that." And I'm like, go for it, man. She's like, be careful what you ask for. Yeah, I get it. But you know what? We're all here to have fun.
Hey, let me ask you a question. I pressed the mute button here.
Okay.
Does it mute everybody?
I just muted you.
Oh, okay. All right. Because I saw it go across the screen. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, it just says that your microphone is muted. It's like, yeah, that's kind of what I pushed the button for.
And so we got Doc Jared Hildebrand in the house.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Oh, no. Hide your valuables.
But yeah.
A man is a prince among princes, a prince among men. So.
I just thought a balance of kookiness and stuff. Sometimes there's that sort of like devil may care, you know, caution to the wind and all that. And, you know, but unfortunately, it's unfortunate, but I ended up down a YouTube rabbit hole. And this is what I was going to tell you that I didn't tell you so that we wouldn't ruin it.
Does that happen?
Yeah.
You can go down rabbit holes on YouTube?
I know. It's crazy, dude. It's it's an unfortunate thing because so I'll be quick about it because I really don't want to linger, but you might have thoughts on it.
Okay.
There's this whole YouTube sort of like road that forks off into interrogations of suspects that have committed savagery. And I watched one the other day, and they're like 2-3 hours long, dude, and they just roll on, and you get to see how the investigators are questioning and the reaction of the people and the tactics that they use and all that. And so I watched one, and I don't know the history of what this guy, but they're asking all these questions.
Right.
And just by watching the thing, I'm thinking to myself, instead of putting myself in the seat of the interrogator, I put myself in the seat of the dude sitting there, thinking, look at all the freaking questions, because I'm one that holds my what you call privacy, freedom, and all that, and I see it like an affront. So I'm thinking, well, why would you ask that? Why would you ask? So I get into the whole psychology of it. It turns out to be that these people are freaking savages, man. Mm-hmm. And I've watched like 3 of them, and at the end of the day, it's like this long, drawn out thing, but it's depressing as hell, and the savagery that they do. But anyways,
well, yeah, it's we use the word psychotic for a reason. There are just, and that's something that a lot of people just don't want to face. There are just some evil people out there. There are just some bad people out there. And that's all there is to it. And, we wish it could be all sunshine and rainbows, but it just doesn't. It's just not reality.
Well, I'll give you an example of the last one that I saw, and it's freaking insane. It's this young guy that's they're trying to suss out, his crime, and that's the story. Well, all he does is answer yes, no, I don't know. So he's kind of got like the gist of, to some extent. But here's the thing: they ask him a question that's totally normal, and he'll say yes or no, like that. Mm-hmm. But then they ask him a question that if they asked you, you're like, what the heck's wrong with you, buddy? They're like, no, I don't remember. But the guy had no emotional fluctuations whatsoever. No, like, what you call sort of like that lift up moment of like, hey, that's you. What's wrong with you, buddy? You can't. Yeah. No, it was all like, and it turns out, because later I watched the actual, what the heck, well, he was found guilty of it. And it was horrible. And he was a lawyer. He had become a lawyer, and he represented himself in court too at a later date after his stuff. But he admitted to the crime, and it was brutal, dude. It was so yeah. So when you get into all that stuff, I like the psychological aspect, but the idea of these savageries is a downer. Maybe I should have just stopped that at the first one, but I watch, if I want to investigate something, I go down that rabbit hole, and I don't stop until I'm satisfied that I know, a thing or two about it. So,
yeah, I've not gotten anything. I don't think I've ever gotten into anything that dark, the psychology of why people do some of the evil things they do. I don't know. Maybe I'm just, naive or something like that. I just kind of wish it wasn't around, and I don't want to remind myself of stuff like that. Sometimes I just don't want to hear what happened. There are some things I don't want to see.
Yeah, I've run across people that did really weird things where weird things were not appropriate to be done. And I'm not going into exaggeration. I'm just saying, like, I've always had like a metric of from 0 to 10, let's say.
Yeah.
If something occurs that, and I guess the metric could be different for everybody, but if something occurs that merits a number 3 on the scale of outrage, it's reasonable to go to a 3 in your outrage behavior. But 4 is maybe you're crossing the line. 5, it's like, wait a second, they just didn't give you the right donut. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
But there's people that I've encountered in life that will take a number 3, a number 2 level of intensity situation,
right,
and freaking run with it, where it's like all hell's gonna break loose. And I'm like, what the heck's that about? And that's kind of a scary thing to see people like that. So, you think to yourself, well, what the heck's wrong with them? Are they consciously, is it, and you start thinking, are they trying to create a situation to manipulate? Are they actually freaking insane? Is it just they can't control their you start thinking all these things.
Yeah.
And so I think these things, and so I stay away from people.
Yeah. I'm with you. Because you never know who the one with the silly straw chromosome is, and it's, Dennis Miller, I think, said it best. You can't save everybody. All you can do is hope you don't live next door to them when they go off. And there is some truth in that. I don't think that they, growing up as a kid or something like that, they wanted to turn out the way they were. It's just, there is sociopathic and psychopathic behavior. And, man, this is a rough one, because it used to be, within my lifetime, I can remember somebody being questioned on something like that, and then the court would just flat out commit them to the state hospital. Well, we've closed down all the state hospitals now, the mental institutions. And so where do these people go? Out amongst us. It is very, very hard to commit somebody to a facility where they will get the mental care that they need. Because, they just start showing that maybe they have normalized a little bit, and they start talking about releasing. At least here they do. Just look at John Hinckley, who shot Ronald Reagan. It's almost like we didn't want to believe that he actually tried to kill a man. So they sent him to a mental institution for a while, and he's, getting to leave now for visits home and this, that, and the other. It's a good thing he didn't try to steal the president's car, because he might have gone to jail. It's you're nuts if you're trying to kill somebody, but there's a little bit of, I don't know, there's a line there that you just don't cross. But we keep talking about mental health in this country. Well, where are they supposed to get this mental health when most of the facilities have closed down?
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
There's also the thing about industries being formed around that, and people getting tossed into these places as bargaining chip, and money for the there's
true.
It's a complicated thing when it becomes that sort of. I don't think it's the majority. I think the majority of people, judging by how we function every day, are relatively within the framework of the scale from 0 to whatever, sort of that scale. They're in the relatively, I can function in society and make it back home to watch The Simpsons. But within those groups within that population, people can go to. I think anybody is capable, for the most part, of much extremes if their psyche is pushed to the point of breakage.
Yeah, and that's the thing right there. It's that limit, because there are people who live normal lives, but there something happens, an event happens, or just something snaps within them. Ted Bundy didn't start out as a kid killing people.
No, but he was, I think, I if I recall, he was cruel to animals.
Right. And that's where I was going. And it's that type of behavior. This is just me talking here. This is just my personal opinion. And I know we're getting really close to getting political here, which I really don't want to do.
Yeah.
But just me talking here, I would much rather pay to have somebody get treatment and possibly I won't say cured because I don't know that that's even possible, but get the treatment that they they need to have even a semi-normal life, then support them in prison. I would much rather attempt to help people kick addictions that may be fueling some of this, or get the mental help that they need to try to live as normal life as possible, than deal with the pain of the aftermath of what happens afterwards and then support them in prison. I that's just me, my opinion. So,
Yeah.
and I'll get off my soapbox.
Well, yeah, I told you it was a heavy one. What I wanted to share, but it's just what I've been. What unfortunately, I watched 3 of those dang 2-3 hour long interviews in the past week and a half, and
Yeah.
and let me say this one thing about that.
Okay.
So back when I used to work in the casino, there was this organization within the casino realm, which were the what you call the eye in the sky. They were the gaming. They were called.
Okay, gaming control board. Yeah.
Or something like that. They were the people that they had a name.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think gaming, I don't know, but they were like the ones that investigated this and that. I was working the floor, and there was a guy that did not like me. Now, I don't know that this is the case, but I would see him walking up to customers and exchanging money, and then money or what appeared hand gesture. Let me back that up. I saw nothing other than hand gestures that didn't look appropriate in an exchange between a customer and I saw this in, and like sneakiness and weird stuff, and saved myself there.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff. Yeah. And so, this guy and I had it out a few times over just typical work related things. And one day I get called by these people. You have to come down at such and such, or this and this and that. I'm like, what? I said, okay, I'm going down there. And I go down there, and I see this girl that sitting in the hallway, and I sit there, and she's all quiet and stuff. And I had taken her home a few times, like to her house, like I drop her off because we'd work the night shift and whatever. And I get called in to a room with a desk and stuff. And it's kind of like these interview things, actually. And now looking at these interviews, now I'm thinking as we speak. And so they proceeded to ask me questions, whether there was any shenanigans, and this and all the stuff that I had seen this one dude do. And they said, because someone has complained, I said, well, who's complained? Don't I have a right to face my accuser? Uh-huh. And whatever back and forth at one point, and I'm a young guy back then, right? And I said, dude, I have done nothing, and I don't even know what you're, and he says, I'm not your dude. And he took the switch and so what they, now looking back, now even think live here as we speak, they were doing sort of like an interrogation with shifts in tones to see if I'd crack and display that, yeah, I put the money in my pocket, and this and that. Uh-huh. And at one point I got so enraged with the what appeared to be accusations, but now thinking back, it was just I said, listen, man, this is my license to operate in the casino. You could take it right now. And I said, but I've if I don't work here, I said something to the fact, if I don't work here, I'll work somewhere else. I'll do a good job for them. But I've not done what you're talking about. And by the way, I even said the guy was pissed. And by the way, it's not like I just, jumped off a plane or swam across. I said just like that. 'Cause what happens is in these casinos, they bring in a lot of people, Cubans that have just arrived and stuff, and they have different ways of operating. It operates kind of like an underground black market. It's really weird. It's just totally weird. And I'm not, associated with that. I'm said, dude, I make the money that I make, and I'm quite happy with it. And I explained to the guy, And I got really like, so do what you want the license here. He goes, no, I don't want the license. And he walked out, and then his buddy that was sitting there, he's sitting there just waiting stuff. And he was the good cop, let's say.
The good cop, yeah.
And I turned around, and I'm a young kid. I'm in like my 20s. And I turned around and said, dude, I've done nothing. This guy doesn't believe me. What's going on here? He says, no, he believes you. And that's it. They were done with it. End of story. But it was like an interrogation type deal.
Yeah. When I worked in casinos too, and I know that, security's always watching, and yes, there's the gaming control board. With us, it was the state of Nevada gaming control board.
Yeah.
And their word was law. They had arrest authority. They were law enforcement. And that was always my first question whenever anybody was talking about myself or any other employee. What does surveillance say? That was my first thing out of my mouth. What does surveillance say? I mean, it got to the point to where if my manager had to call me up because, well, this customer says this employee did this, what does surveillance say? They would have it queued up and ready to go. And if it was there, I'm like, okay, so why are you talking to me? Are you just letting me know that you're terminating this person, or what? Why am I here? I got stuff to do, but that was always my default.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and, talking about basically keeping somebody's tip, that is a prosecutable offense in the state of Nevada. You can be prosecuted for that.
Yeah, what we thought that was happening amongst the other coworkers of the same thing was exactly that, because we would all get tips from winning jackpots and all that, and then they would tip us. Well, what we were supposed to do is take that tip and put it in a communal box. At the end of the night, they would actually divide it percentage wise, and everybody goes home with their amount,
with a share. Yeah.
Or actually at the end of the quarter, every 15 day, whatever, every check. So it would be all included and stuff. What we were thinking was going on was that he was sort of filtering it to customers that were actually friends, so that it wouldn't make it to the box.
Ah, okay.
You see what I'm saying? So stuff like that. So it's like,
it's a whole nother world. I mean, how we got on this from interrogation. Well, yeah, I do know how we got on this from interrogation, but it's a whole nother world. You're doing everything for the camera. You're very deliberate moves. You take money out of your change wallet and you break a 20 for 2 10s or what have you. You do it way up for the camera so the camera can see, and you put your wallet in your pocket, and if they hand you a tip, you take that bill, you fold it in half, and then you tap. I had a pocket that I put the tip money in. I would tap my leg and then tuck it in my pocket. And that tap of the leg, that double tap, indicated to the camera that this is a tip, that I'm not pocketing something out of my change wallet or taking money out of a cash drawer. And you learn to do this a lot so the camera can see your hands.
Right.
Slap your hands together and turn them. Especially in the cashier's cage, where you've got money that has changed hands. There's a camera pointing straight down at the counter. So you've got money changing hands. They bring you up a ticket. You scan that ticket, you pay them out, you put the ticket in the drawer, you clap your hands, turn them up like that. Then you back away. So they can see that no money is, leaving, going somewhere it wasn't supposed to be.
I'm curious to know that at the end of the evening, when they pull the boxes with the cash out of the machines and they start doing their counting, with all the money exchange, because it's a lot of money, I mean, it's a lot of money.
It is.
How much does it balance, or is there a lot of money unaccounted for? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I can't speak for anywhere other than Nevada, but I know in the casinos that I worked in, if you didn't balance, you didn't leave the vault. So they had to balance every time. And to include, they would call, because they couldn't leave the vault once they're in there for the count, to count the drop, they call it. Once they're in there to do that, they cannot leave the room. They're basically locked in. And they would call over to the manager, and the manager would send somebody out to go check a machine and check a meter reading, because the machines keep track of all the money that goes in and goes out. And they would go check to see, did somebody transpose a number or something? Because if there's one machine where it just didn't jibe. So, but basically, if it didn't balance, they didn't leave that vault. And everything is counted meticulously. I mean, the people that went in to count, the women, they had to have a clear purse. It had to be a clear plastic purse that the cameras could see through. And that was one of the things they did. They would, before they left, they would put it up on the table where the overhead cameras were, and then flip it over twice. Then they could leave. You know? So, I mean, heavy security on that.
So what if the lights go out, power out?
We had backup.
But there's a little moment of transition.
Yeah. I mean, it might be a slight little flicker, but it had to be, there were battery operated spotlights on the wall that would kick on the minute the light level went down to a certain point. They would kick on, and then the generators would kick in, and the backup came up. So there would be a brief little flicker, but that was about it. About half the time, the only way they knew they had lost power was one of those emergency lights came on, the battery operated ones.
I can't tell you how many people I used to see trying to go there to make their fortune so that they could, you know what I'm saying, and spending their lives or their monthly, all sorts of stuff.
Oh, it's a totally different world, man. It's a totally different world. It's a world driven on the mighty dollar, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
You know, let's see. You pushed the button and it said live.
Mm-hmm.
It took 2 minutes for that notification to come up.
Oh, wow.
Because we've been broadcasting we went live 27 minutes ago, and the notification I got says 24 minutes ago.
Well, let's shift gears.
Dirty Smith in the house. Holy cow. Good evening. How you doing?
I didn't even see that update. Why don't I see the update?
He just popped in. Now there's a little bit of a lag there, so it might take a couple seconds. I'm watching over on the YouTube chat.
The official
YouTube chat. And Frankie's not sorry he took the money. You know.
The great heist of 2014.
Yeah, that's it.
And he's still on the run.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
So let's switch gears.
Gears. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, after that heavy discussion here, I kind of feel out of place. But let me ask you, have you ever heard of, we talked one time about the Mandela effect.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is where people believe something that is not true, but they believe it's true.
Yeah.
You know, and it was named after Nelson Mandela. There's a lot of people that think he died in prison when he didn't. He was released from prison and went on to become president of South Africa.
Yeah.
Well, have you ever heard of rhyme as reason effect?
No. That's interesting. No.
You've never heard of the rhyme as reason effect?
No.
Okay. That is where, if a statement is put into rhyme, we somehow seem to give it a little bit more credibility. You know, like an apple a day keeps the doctor away.
And it becomes
just a little simple, just a little simple rhyme. But you tend to believe that because it's a rhyme. It has just a little bit more legitimacy than just saying, if you eat an apple every breakfast, you'll stay healthy.
Right.
That just goes in one ear and out the other.
Yeah, but Oh, I was gonna say it's gotten to the point where you could say, if it's good for the goose, you don't even finish the.
Yeah, exactly.
And people are like, yep. That's a strong point. I'm gonna go with that. I agree with what you're saying because if it's good for the goose, and then that's it. Argument closed.
Exactly. But it's a weird thing. They call it the Keats heuristic. It's kind of a mental shortcut people take to base their judgment on whether or not a statement is true, but it's just based on the aesthetic qualities of the statement. So you've got like red sky at night, sailor's delight. Well, that means the storm is past. But you tend to think of it and believe it more because it's in rhyme.
Yeah.
Red sky at morning, sailor take warning. That means the storm's coming. But you believe the rhyme more than you believe a storm is coming.
Right.
And that in and of itself, I mean, is pretty cool. It's actually kind of fun. And we got a bunch of them, birds of a feather flock together, meaning, people tend to associate with people that they agree with.
Like-minded people.
Exactly. Haste makes waste. Rushing a job will ruin the project and you'll, have to start over.
I'm sold on that one.
But here's the freaky part of it. There is a thing called psychological marketing.
Yes.
And if you think back to advertising and put this in a advertising perspective, how many little jingles or little advertising slogans are preying upon that?
Oh yeah.
Because if I say plop plop fizz fizz, oh what a relief it is. What do you?
Alka-Seltzer.
Exactly. So you think Alka-Seltzer, it must work. It rhymes. It's got to be true.
Well, I'll tell you what about Alka-Seltzer. It doesn't need that kind of help because it sure did help, growing up. I'm sure it'd help again now with indigestion. But yeah.
Well, just on a side note, and if they want to send me some samples, that would be cool too. Alka-Seltzer Plus is the only cold medicine I can take that does not knock me out, but it still actually works.
It totally works. It's incredible. It helps you burp, that's for sure.
Yeah. But it's just kind of one of those things of where, people were prone to using that rhyming thing to make decisions. When we either don't want to or we're not in a position to actually think about whether something's true or not. Somebody will say something like, oh man, that's got 3 leaves on it, so you might want to be careful. That could be poison oak. Well, that doesn't register. But if you have heard and you remember the little lime or rhyme, if you can speak, if you've heard the little rhyme, leaves of 3, let it be, that pops into your brain. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Now I get it.
Katie also mentions the jingle makes the product memorable. Jeez.
Yep.
How about me for doing a jingle? I agree with that because that's another little layer. If you add music to it in a catchy way, it's also influencing the person. I mean, we've been aware of these things, but since we're seeped in this environment of marketing anyhow, more so, well, I was actually gonna make an error. I was gonna say more so back then. It's actually probably way more now because we have the screen, the computer, and they're popping little things on the side. It affects us, man.
Yeah. And yeah, it does. It affects us big time because it tickles that authority and legitimacy spot in our brain, and we're willing to accept it. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but it got me thinking back to all the advertising jingles that I have ever listened to, all of the little, just even the statements that people will make. Because think about it. If it didn't work,
they wouldn't use it.
Well, would Johnny Cochran have gotten up there and said, if the glove don't fit, you must acquit?
Yeah.
People hang on that line. If the glove don't fit, you must acquit.
Well, let me test you with a couple. See if they've brainwashed you like they have me, because I can confirm it. Rice-A-Roni.
The San Francisco tree.
Brainwashing.
I grew up right across the bay, so we couldn't hear a trolley bell ding ding. Somebody in the group would say Rice-A-Roni.
How about this one? And I'm not going to even do it with I'm just going to word it out.
Okay.
Whoa, 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 whoa. What a feeling. Or you could say, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. What a feeling.
Toyota?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Took me a minute. I had to think about it.
Man, that stuck in my mind, yet it didn't really stick in yours.
No, I had to think about that for a second because, that is actually, and I'll give you credit for this, that is actually very difficult to do, to think of a jingle lyric without putting it to the tune.
Yeah. That says more about me and my brainwashing than anything else. Because
no, that's actually very hard to do because we get hit with it so much.
Oh, I see what.
Even when I was doing the plop plop fizz fizz, I kind of put it to the little. Yeah. Oh, what a relief it is! I kind of put it to the, not really, but kind of.
Yeah,
it's hard to do. It's read out the lyrics to one of your favorite songs and not think about the music. It's real hard to do. You're going to end up singing it,
You need to associate it in your brain to push that out, that information.
Right. I think you're right about that, man.
Well, that was a good one. We should have led with this topic. There's another little, and see, there's something called the Dunning and Kruger effect.
Mm-hmm.
This is another psychological thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they say in the field of psychology, the Dunning and Kruger effect is a cognitive bias in which people mistakenly assess their cognitive ability as greater than it actually is. It's related to the cognitive bias of illusory superiority and comes from the inability of people to recognize their lack of ability. So it's people that are not aware that they don't know. I think that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You've heard of this before, yeah?
Well, yeah, it's kind of sort of a demonstration or an explanation of, like, you've heard of the Peter Principle, right?
No, tell me.
The Peter Principle is, someone will get promoted just above their level of incompetence. So you start out in the mailroom, you work your way up until you get into vice president of advertising. Then they discover you're no good at it. So you've been promoted to just above your level of incompetence. The thing is, you don't know you're incompetent at it because you just don't know.
I had a situation like that, and I'm going to lay it out there for the sake of the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be a house inspector for a builder, and I worked in different things. They moved me up eventually to the McMansions that they would build along Cutler Bay and all that. But initially they would be, sort of like, I guess, not duplexes, but what's the word for the other one? Condo type stuff. And you walk in and you inspect windows, doors, floors, pipes, every issue possible in the house. You have this binder and you're checking everything. And if there's any issues, you're checking them off. And that gets sent up, and then the punch out crew would fix things that whoever had to fix things. So they didn't necessarily appreciate your presence and stuff. So I did that and I was quite happy doing that. And then my boss got into some trouble with the hierarchy, and she was the one that had hired me. And she, in order to save me, because someone was going to take over that position and they were going to fire everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So she did the nice thing, that lady, and she relocated me to another position that was way above my expertise
Mm-hmm.
by a long shot.
Mm-hmm.
I became, believe it, the official secretary of this organization of one of their projects. And what that entails is control of every aspect from the top to the bottom of things being purchased, things being kept counted,
Right.
issues being resolved that I can take care on my level, knowledge of the computer infrastructure,
Mm-hmm.
inputting information, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And they put me in that. And, instead of me saying no,
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, because it was more pay. And
Yeah.
I figured I'd figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Bad idea. I should have quit while I was ahead.
Mm-hmm.
She had to leave her position, and that was the choice. And in that situation, I'm like, well, I'm either out of a job or in this new position that's way above my freaking, like, I could look at stuff and tell you that they're broken.
Uh-huh.
Right? But this other thing requires a massive amounts of mental gymnastics, and you'd probably need to go to school for this.
For
At
some of it,
level.
I'm sure, yeah.
Because it's just, well, and so I began.
Mm-hmm.
And I was inching along,
Mm-hmm.
calling people, asking questions that would leak that information of me not knowing, because it's a whole thing. And one day, it happened a few times, but a bunch of, I guess you'd call them not the bosses. What was the word of they were different. They were underling foremans.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one was taking care of the tiles, shipments and whatnot. The other guy was in charge of this. I had my own office. Get this, Mark. I had my own office, my computer, I was set up, dude.
Yeah.
But remember, my not expertise even, but my comfort zone was over doing the inspection of not in this new gig where I'm like, hey, I'm some big time stuff. Well, 3 of those freaking, under bosses come in at the same time saying, yeah, listen, I need this, and and I'm sitting there with paperwork like this, trusses, how many this, how many that. I'm sitting there, and I told them, all of you shut up, right? I told them, you all shut up right now, get out of my office, I'll help you one at a time, out. No, and they said, no, but you're I said, out. And they freaking took off. I said, get out. They did not like me one bit.
Well,
but I needed to. And anyways, long story short, that didn't last long. I ended up going back to the Everglades and dealing with alligators.
That was safer. Yeah. And Billy Burt, thank you. He
What did he say?
He informed me that I did my thing, which is basically I used the wrong word.
Okay.
When I said the Peter Prinzel rising above your level of incompetence, I meant above your level of competence.
Oh, okay.
Again, saying the wrong word is my thing. So
yeah,
Mark Malaprop, that's me.
I mean, so listen. So here's the thing. That was a situation that matches. Although I didn't think I could do the job, I thought that I could, what you call, pretend well enough.
Yeah, fake it till you make it.
That's what I thought. So I was like, but I knew when I sat at that desk the first time and I was left alone. It was my territory. I knew that I was way over my head, to be honest with you. Yeah. But I had a nice little title going. Oh boy, what a nightmare, dude. That was one of the embarrassing things. It's just that stuff happened. She promoted me. She had no business doing that. And I ended up, I made some cash.
Yeah. You know, there are a lot of situations where you can learn on the job if you have some instruction, but some of that stuff just isn't, you know. Thankfully, I've not been put in that kind of situation where I was thrown to the wolves like that. Basically,
Yeah.
here you go, learn it. You know, thankfully I haven't been in that position, but you know, I've come close a couple of times. You know, when they wanted to make me manager at the casino, I really had. I says I need a few days to think about this because this is huge. You know, I'm not. I don't have a problem with being responsible. I just need to make sure that I can actually do the job
Right.
before I say yes or no. And it came in. Yeah. Linda Lindsay pops in and says, kind of like when she became the platoon sergeant in a combat arms line unit. Yes, she was the first female crew chief in a frontline attack helicopter
Nice.
battalion in that division, and she did it. She did it. She did it very well. That was one of those cases of she had a sergeant major who didn't like women in his army. And I don't know what she ever did to him, but she just kind of rubbed him the wrong way. So he figured that he would set her up for failure, but she took it and ran with it. And in fact, she was there when he rotated. He left to go back to the mainland. So she lasted longer than he did.
Let's touch on that for a bit, or for a spell.
Mm-hmm.
People rubbing other people the wrong way. What do you have on that?
You're on a bus and, you know, things happen. You hit a bump, you're going to rub somebody the wrong way.
Yeah.
That's not what you meant. Okay.
No, well, I thought you were being zen about it. I thought you had some, like, you know, you were being far eastern about it.
Nope, absolutely nothing. I was being my normal smart aleck self, going for a cheap laugh that didn't work. No, as far as rubbing people the wrong way, I don't know. I try to get along with folks. I really do. I try to get along with folks, but I think everybody knows somebody that they just, you know, at first, you know, everybody gets the benefit of the doubt. But some folks you just want to go, oh, I don't know about this guy.
There's a thing, and it happens to, we all have these situations. I would say I'm curious to think what just hear what people say out there, but we all have come across people without any fault of our own, apparently, you know, that one might be aware of. I'll do it this way, that I'll point at myself. I've run across people that totally hate me. And you would think, Eloy, don't jump to conclusions on the hate thing. That's a strong word. But if actions were some sort of measure, and facial tics and, you know, were some sort of measure, you get a sense of somebody's level of like or not like of you.
Yeah.
And you know, the thing is that there's nothing that you or I could do about that kind of stuff, because you can, you know, you have to be who you are.
Sure.
And there's a level of respect that you offer people, and there's a level of confidence that you have with friends where you can be playful. But within that language dance that we all have with each other, us human beings, it's bound to go wrong, and sure as hell it does, because we see it quite often, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. You start just kind of getting that little nagging feeling. And yeah, you're right. There are some people that you have to be 100% professional with. But I found out a long time ago to just let it roll off, and that basically what other people think of me is none of my business. They're going to think it no matter what I say, what I do. So just ignore it. And I don't mind being the butt of the joke. I don't mind being the goofball. I've always been a ham. It's all been a massive case of dig me. And so if Now, if somebody's actively trying to sabotage me or do something like that, then yeah, that's a different story. But if somebody just doesn't like the way I act, if somebody just doesn't like the way I speak or something like that, there's absolutely nothing I can do about that. And it's just simply put, none of my business. It's weird to say because we put ourselves out. We're doing it right now. We put ourselves out there for acceptance. We want people to accept us. We want people to like us. We want them to share our podcast. We want them to
leave leave
keep
some
listening.
questions. Oh, I'm sorry. I cut you off.
No,
I was
you're
gonna
fine.
say no. I was gonna add. I thought that we were doing the back and forth, and I ruined the frickin' moment.
No, you're good. You're fine.
I,
Everything is great. But you get what I'm saying.
yeah,
We want people to like us.
yeah,
And some of us just can't make that disconnect that if people don't like us, some people it really affects them bad. But I can't get emotional about that anymore, man. I just have to be me, the best me I can possibly be, and try to be fair, try to be understanding, try to be, keep things on an even keel and get through my day. So,
hey JP, hey Portal
yeah.
and JP just joined us. I agree with you, Mark, but there's something you said before that's a little bit in the insane side where I classify as now. You said now that would be a problem. There are people that, apart from the not liking you,
Mhm.
which is a human situation,
Right.
there are people that engage in figuring out how to mess with you.
Mhm.
I'll give you one example. There's a neighbor around here that has no control of what comes out of his mouth. It could be someone he knows. It could be someone that he doesn't know, complete total stranger. He creates havoc for people in the neighborhood because of what comes out of his stupid mouth.
Mhm.
So I'll give you one example. He'll come to you that lives on the far side of the street,
Yeah.
and he'll say, "So Mark, I'm here doing this and fixing that and this and that, and isn't it a good day?" He'll do that. He'll massage, and then
Mhm.
he'll say, "By the way, did you see Eloy the other day? What's going on with his truck? It's got this loud thing and stuff. And the other day, and what is that? Why does he put his trash can out a little bit too far? Have you noticed what he's doing? And he's got. I'm saying benign things, but imagine where that could go, and then he'll walk away.
Yeah.
But
I got
here,
no time for people like that.
no. But here's where the magic of that type of person's brain is.
Okay.
Then he'll come up to me, unbeknownst to you. You're off doing Mark Lindsay stuff. And he'll come right up to me and he says, "Hey, what's going on? Isn't it a beautiful day? This, and that." And then he'll whisper in my ear and say, "Man, did you see Mark? I was talking to him. He told me that, his cousin, this, and that. I don't know what's wrong with these people and this and that. And by the way, did you notice that, and he'll do that with me, and then he'll walk away. And then what he's trying to do is create, whether he's aware of it or whether he's sick, I can't go that far. He's trying to create division
Mhm.
and suspicion
Mhm.
with two parties, him being the catalyst by whispering in people's ears.
Yeah.
How screwy is that? Hey, Arju.
I'll tell you something that's even screwier is having a relative like that.
Oh, geez.
I had an aunt that way, a
Oh,
great aunt, my grandmother's sister. She was not happy unless somebody in the family was cheesed off at someone else in the family.
oh man.
And she wondered, and then she ended up spending like the last 3 years of her life just basically ostracized from the family because the family just got tired of it. It's just like, she didn't get invited to anything. I mean, she helped split up two families that I know of, two marriages that I know of.
Yeah, that's
And
bad.
yeah, just, turn up the heat, stir it up a little bit, turn up the heat, stir it up a little bit. That was her whole shtick. She wasn't happy unless half of the family was fighting with the other half. And she would do everything within her power to get people at other people's throats so she could just sit back and just smile.
Well, if a person, so that's a complete corruption of see, here's the thing. I'm just going to throw this out there. If and just take it with a grain of salt, but just try to follow my thought here. That sort of measure of what humans are agree upon society wise as normal, and then the extremes that towards the left or right of the spectrum of normality, people fall by the wayside and stuff. Well, if mankind shifted to that sort of normality, we would have one wicked world on our hands. But thank goodness that most people don't want confrontation, confusion. Thank goodness, if you look at mankind in a general, yes, there's problems all over the place, but in general, if you select someone out of a crowd, they're usually not wanting to, maybe they're having a coffee, a nice stroll, but there's not that overt, I call that evil, or a semblance of evil.
Yeah, I do too.
Because you're creating heartache or the want, and you have the want to hurt you have the want to create strife in other people's lives. Yeah. And that to me is the very sickening thing.
For nothing more than your own entertainment. Nothing more than your own entertainment. So you can sit back and just smile. Look at what I done. And I agree with you 100%. That's, you can only classify it as evil. That's just a bad person. We've come full circle.
But mind you, I'm saying this in the context of us today, society at large, but maybe that behavior, say back in caveman times, meant that you'd get the extra buffalo leg because the other two, like Neanderthals, were fighting over it, and then now you carry your own, and you're saying, haha, maybe these are leftover things from people's heads. Maybe that's what's wrong with some people. I don't know. I'm just supposing.
A lot of it is just ego. Because it's just a few minutes ago I said something about it's all a game of dig me.
Yeah.
Well, it is, but not to someone else's expense. I mean, there's a difference between a practical joke and just being mean, and that's just all there is to it.
Well, you're actually hurting people. You're creating strife in people's lives. And by the way, depending on the person receiving these your attentions as the psycho-human that you are, if that person is not capable of processing that, you could affect the person to the point where you can edge them to the where there's no return, there's no coming back from it on many levels.
Well, stirring the crap is one thing. Playing a practical joke is one thing. But you never know these days how somebody is going to react to one of those jokes. I mean, we live in strange times. And you never know who's going to go off. And that's kind of like what I mean by we've gone full circle. You never know who's going to snap. So be careful.
Yeah. Because I mean, you don't. If I feel a tap upside my back, a pat, bam, or whatever, or let's not use that. Let's say like a whack up upside the head, open handed. Like like they used to do in school. Hey, and I turn around and I see, I don't know, Javi from Javi's wood shop.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, it's Javi. Okay. Hey man, why'd you mess up my hair? But if I'm walking and some stranger whacks me upside the head, well, that's a whole different story.
True.
What's your problem, you son of a gun?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, everything within reason. So there's room for a little hazing, we could call it, or joking. But there's confidence involved in that. There's friendship involved in that.
Right.
What I mentioned with this neighbor guy, what the heck's that all about?
Yeah. Oh, it's like my aunt. I mean, that's for his own entertainment. And I ain't got no time for people like that, Yeah. And it's just, if he gets called on it, it's like, oh, did you see Mark? He did this, Well, I happen to know you're full of it because Mark is over here doing this, that, and the other. So you might want to go peddle your fish somewhere else.
I went to the point where I had to go because it was doing it on all sorts of levels.
Uh-huh.
That I went to everyone and said, listen, because I got tired of it. And this guy's not going to listen because he's got some sick, And actually, I did confront him a few times, and he caves like a bat, spineless. It's ridiculous.
Of course.
Well,
Most of them do.
Yeah, because their tactic is the other tactic. It's not the face your issue. That doesn't work. So I went to each one of these people and I said to them, listen, if you don't hear it, if you don't hear me say it, it didn't come from me. And if you have a doubt, ask me and I will tell you. Yeah. But the little, tiki in someone's ear and munchy, no. And I went around and told folks that. And it kind of, it doesn't happen as much anymore. Yeah. But that's a destructive behavior.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. And that's the whole purpose behind it, is to be destructive. Some people just aren't happy when there's no drama. I mean, that can take on some sinister forms as well. It's I don't know. I don't want to get that heavy anymore. I don't want to go down that road. We'll talk about it another time, maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean, it I don't know. I think you're right in that most folks are just folks, and they just want to, they want to do the 8 to 5, and they want to come home. They want to have a good dinner, and they want to entertain, spend some time with a loved one or the kids, or, all of the above, and then just, make it through life. They just want to make it through their day without a bunch of crap. But some folks just can't leave that alone,
I mean, dude, in school, I don't know. I was taught by my folks. And by the way, just because I was taught by my folks doesn't necessarily follow that other people were taught by their folks the same manner.
Sure.
Or that the way I was taught was correct. Or that, I don't know. But I was taught by my folks, keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah.
As that's the most basic thing that I was like, that was the first freaking thing that I was taught.
Yeah. And my parents harped on that constantly, and we've talked about it before. There are just certain things, as 4 rules for life. Keep your hands to yourself, leave other people's things alone, be nice to people, and mind your own business. And, they drove that into my skull as a young kid. And of course, I didn't pay hardly any attention to them until I, grew older, but drove it into your head. And if more folks would do that, I think probably about a third of the world's problems would just cease to exist.
But unfortunately, and I think that's a fair way to go about, one's life, because what is it saying? It's saying, keep your hand. What it's saying is that you mind yours, and others will mind theirs.
Exactly my point. I mean, how many times do we drive? And I say this, but how many times are we driving down the street? And it's like, what the hell is the guy in front of me doing? Gee, many Chris, mind your own business. He ain't hurting you. You're doing the speed limit and cruising down the road. What do you care what he's doing?
Yeah.
He ain't swerving all over the place. Just mind your own damn business. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just unless he's doing 35 in the fast lane, then, left lane fast, right lane slow. Here's a pro tip for you folks out there on the highway. If people in the right lane are passing you, you need to get over.
Yeah.
You need to get over in the right lane. If you're being passed on the right side, you are in the long lane or the wrong lane.
Let me tell you one thing that I don't know that you have in your area. And you're going to have to correct, and you'll have to inform me if it's so. But, and you guys out there, here's the story. In Miami, when you put your blinker on, listen to this. You put your blinker on because you want to get onto the next lane, say the left lane next to you, let's say there's 3 lanes and you want to get in the middle lane or whatever lane. In Miami, their objective is, once that blinker starts, is to speed up in order to block you from getting into that lane. That's Miami. Now, do you guys have that situation in your area?
On occasion, we have that here, but you know what I do? And it cheeses them off because they really don't know what to do. I'll just go ahead and put on my brakes and let them get ahead of me. They really do not know what to do. Then I'll scoot over behind them because it's like, I can keep an eye on you from back here.
Yeah. See, now that's good stuff. Now that's good stuff.
And
just nip it in the bud.
We got into malapropisms a minute ago because I used the wrong word. I just did a spoonerism.
What do you mean?
What's where you swap the consonants of the
consonants?
The first consonants of the 2 words. I said you need to get in the light rain instead of the right lane.
See,
I love word stuff, man.
You know what's funny about when you do that, though? It's totally believable.
Yeah.
Like, I'm listening and it's accepted. And frankly, I understand what you actually mean.
Uh-huh.
Which is weird.
Yeah, because you thought, it.
Well, it's all the words surrounding the sentence that create, the trajectory.
Uh-huh.
And that one word replacement is not really going to affect the outcome of what you're saying.
That's right.
It could be very damaging depending on the sentence.
Oh, yes, it can be. It can really mess things up, believe me. But it's just it's kind of like that meme that you see floating around where all the letters every other letter is backwards. If you can read this, that's because your brain is programmed to process words.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing. You knew where I was going.
Mm-hmm.
You knew I was headed for right lane, so that's what you heard.
Dude, that's been happening to me a lot lately in reading. When I'm reading on the computer, or when I'm doing the words for the videos that I'm producing, I'll write out this whole thing and I'll start reading and recording, and I'm reading the words, and I'll notice that I jump words and stuff, and it's like I'm not slowing down so that my voice can word out what my eyes are reading, and it's a total crash. And I have to repeat the recording 1,000,000 times until I consciously think in my head, read and speak only what you read. I'm trying to run over to the next sentence when I haven't even finished this, verbally.
Yeah.
So it's like bad habit and stuff. But yeah, I do that with reading.
Well, again, saying the wrong word is my thing. I do it a lot. I know what I mean. I know you think you understood what I said, but what you heard was not what I meant.
Well, yeah.
And you can prove that to yourself by listening to the Trampled Underfoot podcast every week.
That's right.
And visiting our website, www.trampledunderfootpodcast.com.
That's right. We also have a Facebook page, and over there you can leave us, any thoughts and ideas for upcoming videos. I mean, we really need your input to create more awesome content. So you guys that are listening on the podcast over on Spreaker, also visit us on our Facebook page as well as our YouTube page, and push us out there if you could be so kind, because we'd appreciate the leg up.
Yeah.
Insert picture of a dog with his leg up next to a fire hydrant.
That's right. And share us with a friend, man. Share us on your Facebook page. Share us on your Instagram page. Share us on your social media. You know somebody who needs to hear us. Yeah, we need some help, guys. We're trying to hold on to this beautiful thing we've created of nostalgia and conversation and stuff. I mean, we're talking East Coast to West Coast. We're bridging all that goodness in the middle
with this podcast. But we do need your assistance. So if you could spread the word,
That's right.
we'd appreciate it.
We know we're the best kept secret on YouTube.
I'm
but
telling
we're
you.
ready to be let out.
And by the way, I think we're a month away or so, a little over a month away from Halloween, which I do just want to mention. Yeah, it's coming. I do not know if we can top our first Halloween special, which was Adam Smasher. If you guys have not heard that episode, it's one of my favorite ones. Mark tells an awesome story.
It must be because you mentioned it just about every week. It must be your favorite.
It's just it's the way it worked out was that you were quite naturally telling the story in such a way that you could see the youth and inexperience of a child, assuming monsters are all around, and how that works. It's just a great it's a great episode. So that's all I got to say about that.
If I knew somebody who could animate it, I would animate it and put it up on the Trampled Underfoot YouTube channel. I don't know anybody who could animate it.
Frankie CNC can CNC it.
Well, yeah, and so could I. But I don't do this, and I'll probably edit this out because this is my edit, because it's not really for the podcast. But you folks over there in the live chat, hit them 3 little dots over there and check out Frankie's channel. Frankie has been kicking butt lately with the projects. He's had some problems. He broke his camera, and he's waiting on something to get to him so he can transfer footage from another camera that he's using. But he has been kicking some serious tail on the projects here lately. And go over and check out his channel. Hit them 3 dots next to him right there in the live chat. Then right click and click on go to, open where it says go to channel. Right click and open that in a new tab so you don't shut us off. But show him some love. He's really doing some good stuff over there.
Yeah, by helping Frankie out, be careful that you don't instruct and people click off and then we're totally screwed.
Yeah, that's why I said right click and open a new tab.
We do all this legwork, Frankie, and then all of a sudden, bam,
we're gone.
So yeah, dude. So since this is not going to be aired and stuff because it's after the fact, I do want to thank you guys that hang out with us. We've been doing this for over a year? No, is it?
Yeah, a little over a year. This is episode 57, and we have not taken a single break.
Yeah, we've been pretty darn, not even pretty darn. I was going to say pretty darn consistent. We've been as consistent as a podcast could possibly be. Weekly. Every cover that we do, a couple of things that, a lot of the things that we talk about, you guys know, every cover is a unique cover. We attach it, and we're just trying to keep that theme and stuff. So we have it, our podcast over on Spreaker and all these other, outlets. And we need some advice from you guys and ideas how the heck we can grow and spread the word for the for this podcast, because we love doing it and stuff, and we do want to see some growth. So if you have any ideas, let us know either on the Facebook or wherever.
Yeah.
I have fun doing this, Mark, to be honest. I love the fact that what you wrote, we come from 2 different sides of the country, different upbringings. There's so much similarity, and yet there's enough differences where there's all these conversations that we have, and it's such a fun thing that we've created. I love how it's turned out.
Well, I love it too, and I have a blast. I can't wait for Tuesday evenings, and I mean this sincerely. I'm not playing up for anything here because, like I said, this is probably going to get edited out.
Yeah,
but I actually enjoy. One of the things that I really look forward to is we've said it before. We don't know what one another is going to talk about. I had no idea what Eloy was going to talk about when he started getting into watching those interrogation videos. And he had no idea what I was going to talk about with the rhyme as reason effect.
And by the way, that interrogation stuff is a recipe for disaster. So avoid watching those because yeah, but we don't know.
We don't know, so it's all spontaneous, and I think that's probably about a quarter of the fun. Is it not so much trying to figure out where you're going to go, but just the anticipation of seeing where you're going to lead this and where this is going to go. What topic have you got going on this time? Because we've had some real fun discussions, and I enjoy it. I think this is probably one of the funnest things that I've ever been able to be a part of, and thank you for that. But yeah, y'all, if you have any suggestions at all, something that we haven't talked about, something you want to hear us discuss, get our take on, get our idea on. But Eli's right. We do need your help. Spread the word. Share us with a friend. And let us know how you think we can get a little bit more exposure. What more we need to do to maybe get ourselves in front of more viewers or more listeners.
Yeah.
Because although we do this for our own entertainment, a lot of times, ultimately it's all about you. We want something that you want to listen to, because if you don't want to listen to it, we could do this in a private hangout, So we do want your comments, your suggestions, your feedback. You can hit us up on Facebook. Leave us a comment on the Facebook page. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, zap me a private message, and zap either one of us a private message. And half of you we know and talk with every day anyway. So
yeah, for those of you that we talk to every day, keep your thoughts to yourself, please.
Well, just one or two of you, you know who you are.
that was a joke. Yeah. In any event, guys,
yeah.
Catch you later.
Thanks for hanging with us, and have a good night.